Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.
Welcome back to the Hall of Fame College Football Podcast. I'm your host, Jason Watkins, and if you love college football, you're definitely in the right place. So before you forget, smash that red subscriber button, like our videos, and don't forget to ring the bell so that you do not miss one moment of the Hall of Fame College Football Podcast. It is Bedlam Week. Bedlam Week. And I'm excited about it. I know that it's been kind of a tough, if you're an Oklahoma fan, it hadn't been a good couple of weeks, particularly after losing that game last week to the West Virginia Mountaineers on the road, really squandering a big game from Eric Gray and such. It's going to get better. I feel like we know it's going to get better, or a lot of us do. A lot of us are ready to just go ahead and fire everybody and send them on down the road. But I feel like it's going to get better. I think this is a week that it's probably going to get better. Myself, I believe that there is no way that Oklahoma State wins two of these in a row, particularly with it being in Norman. And I think obviously it's going to depend a lot on whether or not you see Spencer Sanders or not. But the thing is Spencer's as big a choker as the rest of them, and so I'm fairly I feel pretty good about the fact that they could kind of get this done either way. So, hey guys, I'd like to kind of open this up. Sean, I appreciate you being here, man. We're going to get in here. Oh, goody. My boys from Lone Star talking some trash already. Yeah, well, that's probably Christian, just a little butthurt still about losing to TCU the other day when all they gave up was 17. I'm pretty sure that had you figured that – I'm pretty sure that had you expected – if somebody told Sark and the boys that they were only going to give up 17 or what was it? It wasn't even 17. I don't think that's correct. But in any event, I feel like if they were only going to give up that much to TCU with the way that they've been playing, you would have expected that Texas would have probably won. No. What is going to happen around there? Listen, I'd love to hear what everybody's got to say about the game coming up this weekend between the obviously the Bedlam game, and then also I'd love to talk about Texas, whatever you guys want to talk about. Help us, you kind of, Sean, you're always in here trolling and everything else. What do you want to talk about? What is going on with your Arkansas Razorbacks, Sean? What's going on with that? 1 second. We are going to have we will have a special guest in here before too long as well. Let's see. Another Oklahoma fan. Actually, we're just going to bring in our recruiting guy. We're going to talk a little bit about that as well. We do need to go ahead and jump in a little bit to this. I want to go back to kind of what happened this past week. Want to look at this Texas game, TCU. We will go through the college football playoff rankings as they become available, which should be any time now. And again, and then of course we'll talk about some of the best Bedlam games that any of you folks, if you want to jump in here and want to think about a certain game or something like that. One of my favorites was probably just in the past couple of years, actually. I thought that the one between when you had Baker Mayfield, grief, what am I thinking? Anyway, it was a good game. But I remember sitting and watching that at the Superbook in Vegas, being pretty excited about the game. And Oklahoma State kind of kept coming back, but it's just one of those deals. Yeah, Baker versus Rudolph. Yeah, I think it was good. So I feel like that was one of those things. Oh, well, Sean, all right, jump in there. Thank you, bud. Think Sanders could carve this Swiss cheese up if he was 100%. Um, yeah, I mean, he could, or he could throw 4 interceptions. I mean, that's what he did in the Big 12 championship game, and that's what he seems to do in games that matter. You're not going to get me to give any love to these guys at all. Man, I hate ESPN, dude. Good grief. Um, yeah, Baker versus Rudolph. That was that was a great game. Great game between those guys. You've had some James Washington. Yeah, hey man, it was a great game. And if you go back and you think about that one, that was the year that they went to the Rose Bowl, that Oklahoma went to the Rose Bowl. Probably should have won that. Definitely should have won that. Not probably. Could have won the national championship. Offensively, they were about as good as I can remember them ever being from top to bottom. I mean, you're talking about, Samaj P. Ryan, along with Joe Mixon and Baker and some of these other guys. Golly, I'm hating this stupid thing. Samaj P. Ryan, Joe Mixon, Sterling Shepard. The list just, D.D. Westbrook. These guys were just lighting it up. Should have, and then like you said, with James Washington, it was a great shootout, and that's the thing. That was the thing about Randolph is that dude could just get it. I mean, he could throw too, and that him and Baker are pretty good buddies, I guess, from what I understand. But listen, that was one of my favorite games. And then I go back to the games with Adrian Peterson and stuff. I mean, I always go back to games with AD. He just brutalized freaking Oklahoma State. Big run after big run, but he did that to everybody too. One of those deals that I enjoyed it. That was one of my favorites, definitely as well. And that was definitely he's probably top two. He's right up there with. I always say that my favorite Sooner of all time was well, it, AD definitely. I love Baker as well. I was a big fan of Landry Jones as well. Of course, he's from the same town as I am, so he played for the same high school team and everything like that. Landry's a good friend of ours, but definitely AD and Baker, and then I kind of go back to you know early years and stuff like that, and the guys that I can remember from those games. But even just the history of the whole thing. But if you go back and you look at this history, I mean, Bedlam, it's just really not Bedlam games. It hasn't been great for Oklahoma State, and I guess I understand why you're going to stop the game, Pokes, because I mean, obviously, it hasn't been great for you. Um, what is it? You've got 19 wins all together, and like 90 and 19 is what it is. Let's see. I just want to make sure I get it right here. Yeah. 90, 19, and 7. 90, 19, and 7. They've only won it 2 in a row a couple of times, it looks like. It happened like back in the 40s and 30s, but then it happened again in 88, 89, and then you had it happen again in 2001 and 2002, which is rare. And that was, of course, before Gundy came around. But yeah, 19 total victories for the Pokes. Yeah. Yeah. Hey, man, thank you. Yeah, listen, hey, Wong Lam from the Defining Moments podcast has entered the building. AD. Yeah, Sean talking about AD. Yeah, Landry was great, man. I'll tell you something, and people forget that he held those records that got broken by Kyler and Baker, or well, mostly Baker as far as the overall records. But I'll tell you what, yeah. Wait, hey man, how you gonna hate Baker's attitude? Don't. Oh, here we go with the trolling, Sean. Don't you be coming in here talking trash about Baker Mayfield, bro. That is not gonna play in this podcast ever. No. Hey man, you know what? I and I understand that a lot of people don't. I got to tell you though, my thing with Baker was he carried that chip on his shoulder because it helped him. You know what I mean? And when you got him wound up, he was going to light you up, and he was undeniable. You're right about that part. He was undeniable. The guy kicked everybody's ass, and he's just a winner. I really hated the stupid comparisons that they would do with Johnny Football because it just wasn't even real. It wasn't right. But wasn't close to being correct. But you know, yeah, he did. Yeah, he did. I'll tell you what that was about was that dude, and I don't know if you know the story there, but they wouldn't shake his hand in the pregame at the center of the field. They were talking some trash the week before, the year before that, whenever he had plastered them too, and it was kind of, they kind of took their shot at him, and was kind of disrespecting him, leading up to the game. So, hey, listen, again, he plays. Hey, folks, Jason Watkins, Hall of Fame, College Football Podcast. If you'd like to help support our show, we have a fabulous way for you to do so. We have teamed up with the #1 team merchandise retailer in the world, Fanatics. That's right, Fanatics. Now, the next time you need a new hat for your favorite team, shirt, even memorabilia, all you have to do is go to our website first, hofmedia.us/fanatics. That's hofmedia.us/fanatics. At the bottom of the page, there is a blue Fanatics logo. You click on it, then shop as normal. You're going to get up to 65% off everything in the store, and we get a small commission for everything you purchase. It's a win-win. So again, hofmedia.us/fanatics. That's hofmedia.us/fanatics. You help the show and save a bunch by doing so. It's a win-win situation, and we get to continue bringing you fabulous content week after week. The chip on his shoulder. That's the way that Baker always did that. That's just how he was. And, should he have done that? No. And he got in trouble for it too. That was one of the things that, that wasn't something that Lincoln enjoyed. Or I don't think anybody really liked seeing it. Yeah. Yeah. Well, listen, it probably shouldn't have. They probably shouldn't have started all that. But this is what I mean. Look, man, this is how he was. But look, I got to tell you, he was definitely one of my favorites. And then, I don't know, going back. Hey, Wong, who was your favorite Sooner that you can think of going back through the years? And like, what was your favorite game? You're a big Sooner fan, so tell me about your favorite Bedlam. Throw that in there as well if you want to. Look, they've been some good games. That's the one thing is that they're generally a pretty good game. They don't usually, Oklahoma State doesn't usually win, but the game can be pretty good, or it could be a blowout. AD, yeah, man, yeah. Let's look that up. Let's look up AD. I'll tell you what. In fact, let's go. I'll actually share the screen on this one, and we'll kind of do. I had a video up of AD the other day, and let's see if I can get him. I mean, who was better than this guy? You know what I mean? I can't even. He was your favorite, so yeah. A little something, he says. Hey, Wong, he broke it off in everybody pretty much. But yeah, that one, let's see if they've got him in the Stillwater. Let's see. And here's the thing about AD is he got screwed out of the Heisman twice. That's what bothers me the most is I can't believe that dude didn't win the Heisman. He should have won it as a freshman. That wasn't right, man. Just was not right. Let's see. Let's go.
From company events to parties with friends to charity fundraisers to reunions, Rush Order Tees can make a shirt for
Let's see what will happen here.
Designs intuitive.
All right. Yeah, he should have won that. His freshman year, he should have won it. And then I felt like he could have won it his senior year for sure. But I felt like he should have won the thing twice, man. That was jacked up the way that they did that. But you know, it is what it is. But that's to me, I saw somebody's talking in Twitter the other day about if who should have a statue that doesn't. And I was the first person that I thought of was.
Hey, folks, this is Jason Watkins of the Hall of Fame College Football Podcast. I don't want to talk to you about college football right now. I'm going to tell you about the human cheat code for fantasy football. My co-host, Bryce Pinson. I'm telling you, he's kind of full of crap when it comes to college football. But I got to tell you, when it comes to fantasy football, whether it's college or the pros, only this dude gets it. This dude is the man. He gets it right. 9 out of 10 times, Bryce has it right. 9 out of 10 times. And it's happens it's happened year after year after year. The playoffs are coming right now, and if you don't want to get second, third, or not even be in contention, you better get in there and start paying attention to what he's talking about. Fantasy Sports _Bryce on TikTok. That's Fantasy Sports _Bryce on TikTok. Follow him if you want to win. Was obviously AD. That was my thought right away. All right, let's see. This is all Mr. Rock Candies. This isn't the best video though. Man, this sucks. Sorry guys, this isn't going as great as I'd like it to see. I don't know. I'm gonna guess. I don't think any, man. Come on now. I don't think there's gonna be any muff punts. Why would you think that? Chris, what's up, my man? You got any memories of the Bedlam game, Chris? What do you think? What do you think's gonna happen this year in Bedlam? Chris is another guy from Artesia. Actually one of Artesia's best running backs of all time. I don't know if you guys, most people don't know this about me, but that are at least on the channel. But I played football and went to school at Artesia High School, New Mexico, and City of Champions, 30 state championships we have. Chris is one of the top running backs of all time. That guy did things that and his brother Adrian was also one of the greatest running backs of all time. In fact, I was the sports editor in Artesia whenever Adrian played, and man, I'll tell you what, I ain't never seen anybody run like that. As far as he kind of reminded me a lot of Barry Sanders. I was in the military at the time. Chris was doing his thing, but he was unbelievable too. And so, hey, thanks for showing up, for coming into the show, Chris, and I appreciate that. Let's see, last time I was at. Yeah, you've been here before, Wong. No way. Really? That's cool. All right, here's a little AD for everybody. Bryce, you want to jump on the show? What's up, bro? You want to jump on the show? Hello? You want to jump on the show? Oh, no, I can't jump on the show. I'm driving. Oh, shoot. I didn't mean to hang up on you, Bryce. My bad. Yeah. I didn't realize that you had been to Artesia there, bud. That's cool. That's cool. Let's check this out. Adrian Peterson. Oof. Look at this, man. His acceleration, his burst was just undeniable. The Texas game. He put it on Texas quite a few times too, didn't he? I loved it. Loved it, loved it, loved it. So Artesia, New Mexico. Man,
What were you doing in oil and gas as an engineer there, Wong? Is that what you were doing? So you were at the refinery, I'm guessing. I think this is just the Texas game. All right. Anyway, we'll go on. Obviously, guys, what do you oh, there he goes. Wait, where's he at? So I'm waiting on Peyton still. Chris in Nebraska. What? Oh no, bro. Come on. Come on, man. How you gonna mess it up by saying that? That's like saying Texas in here. Sheesh. That's funny, man. That's funny. No, I tell you, those games though back in those days, I mean, that was like, I can remember back to like Tommy Frazier, and then of course, I mean, those guys were so freaking good. Those guys were so good. Uh, the games between them, and then I remember, golly, yeah, there was some amazing matchups between Nebraska, Oklahoma. I still go back to, man, yeah, I loved those games. I loved it, and that's what made college football big for me. I can remember going back and I just go back to games like that, and then my first memory. In fact, Nebraska might have been my first memory of OU football. Watching it with my dad. That was why you know That's why I love OU football, man. It was my dad and everything. As a kid, I grew up watching it, and he was. I mean, we weren't missing a game ever. So that was one of those deals for me that it was. And I think my earliest memories was watching those games right there, the Texas game or the OU game, and I can remember back to when you had guys like Colorado was really good back then. I can remember when Bieniemy was there at Colorado and how good they were, and when they went up against Notre Dame that time, and it was basically for the national or for number one, and Rocket Ismail going against them and stuff. I mean, what a freaking amazing deal. And going back, those are the things that I remember about college football and just how good. Obviously, the boss. You don't forget him. I grew up during that time period, so remember when they got that. Yeah, yeah, they got 5 downs. Dude, I remember that. Yeah, that was great. I was at my grandparents' house in Lovington when that happened. It was crazy, man. What a great game. But, you know, hey, Sean, see, the troll of the year. He's the troll of the year. How come you didn't take me up on my offer, man? I was going to tell you you could have jumped on here, but you're just as good trolling, I guess. Funny guy. Yeah, listen, that's the thing is that they should be, but they were relevant when Frost was the quarterback there. I mean, they won the national championship, but he's not that old, so come on, come on. Of course, he didn't do as good as a coach, but I don't know. I'm wondering if they're ever going to be good again. It's kind of a wonder for me, but I feel like getting into this game this week, and I know it's kind of lost some of the luster. It really has. And I mean, I know with Oklahoma being 5-5, and that's rough for us Sooner fans. Rougher for some than others. I mean, I think that you've got to give it time. I'm going to kind of go back to what I've been talking about for the past couple of weeks, and really, I can't stand what I've been watching and seeing on like Twitter. It's just ridiculous. And it's one thing for trolls from fans of other teams to say it and stuff, but when you've got Oklahoma fans that are just, calling for heads and stuff like that over a 5-5 season when they haven't been good on defense for freaking 12, 13 years, they haven't. And so, yeah, hey, anytime you want, man, anytime you want. You're definitely a big part of the show. We appreciate you. They haven't played defense in freaking 13, 14 years easy anyway. And the facade that was there, and it was kind of perpetuated by Lincoln Riley because of the fact that he had Heisman quarterbacks year after year and was able to, continue to put up points and stuff. And I mean, he's a great offensive mind. There's no two ways around it. I'm not even, I know everybody hates Lincoln, and I'm not a big fan of his after the way that he left and took, and in the middle of the night and everything else, the way he took off like that. And I'm not, I mean, I know there was only 3 Oklahoma guys that he took with him, but the team got gutted by him leaving. So this thought pattern that, Venables came in and had an 11-2 roster, he didn't. He did not have he did not have a freaking 11-2 roster. He didn't. So in fact, there was 44% turnover. So the expectations of him to come in, I mean, I know a lot of people were drinking that Kool-Aid of going to the CFP and crap like that. Like he was just going to turn it around that stick. We do have lots of the Blue Bonnet Bowl. Hey, Boomer, that's all I got to say is Boomer. And there's only going to be a few more of these left, for as far as we know for a while. So even though, Oklahoma State has, stumbled. Of course, they won last week. It's a big game. It's a big game. There's going to be 2 more after this one before Oklahoma goes to the SEC. Oklahoma State has already made the decision that they're not going to continue the series once OU leaves. Listen. All right, Sean. Yeah, they're not going to continue the series, and which I thought it's trash. I think it's stupid. I thought it was stupid when A&M decided not to continue the series with Texas. And the excuse they gave, it logistically it's not working out. Why don't you just say you're tired of getting beat? Just say it, because that's all it is, and we know that. So I don't want to hear this BS about that they couldn't figure it out logistically. There's not a game that makes more money in the state of Oklahoma all year long. I don't care if we're talking about the Thunder or anybody else. It doesn't matter. There's not another game that makes the kind of money that does. There's not, and has as much at stake for the people around it. And I think it's ridiculous that you would and not even give it. I mean, just say you're tired of doing it and you're mad that you didn't get to go to the SEC too, or whatever it is that you're, got your panties in a bunch over, Gundy. I think it's just a trash move. I thought it was a trash move. It had nothing to do with that. No, Sean, it didn't. It did not have anything to do with the TV deal. It had everything to do with them not wanting to do it. Look, you can't tell me that you can't make it happen when they would have gladly made it happen. I mean, Oklahoma wanted to play it. They haven't shown they've been talking about it, all year, that Oklahoma State has not shown any interest in playing the game anymore. And they were butthurt about the whole SEC deal and all that other stuff. And so whatever, it's fine. I think that it's at some point it should come back. But who's to say when it will? I would like to see it come back, but I think it's a weak move. I really do. I think it's a weak move. And because if you've got schools all over the country that continue, they're not in the same conferences and things like that, and they continue having their rivalry games. It doesn't matter when, and why not? Their SEC teams are playing. It could be still at the end of the year because SEC teams still play each other at they still end up playing non-con games right towards the end of their schedule a lot of times. I mean, how many times have you seen Alabama and them guys do that? So I don't see why you couldn't do it still towards the end of the year. I mean, whatever, but whenever they play it, who cares? Play it. Play the damn game. I feel like it's something that should happen. I mean, I don't know. What's your thoughts on that, Wong? I feel like it's a game that should be happening. That being said, it's whatever. If, I get it. They've won 19 games and they've lost 90 in this series. It's not exactly a rivalry. So you got to kind of fairly understand that they don't want to hang around and keep getting their ass kicked. And particularly now that, the whole Big 12 TV deal, I thought it was kind of funny that they were talking about that before. Um, how they got, without Texas and Oklahoma, they still got a, whatever it is, a $8 million bump or something like that from the last contract. Yeah, but when was the last contract signed? When was the last contract signed? You know what I mean? So with all this inflation and the explosion of college football revenue and everything else, and you're talking about an $8 million bump, Texas and Oklahoma got a $58 million bump to go to the SEC. I mean, what are we talking about? So that's silly talk. No, but I agree. And you know what? There's not a lot of times that, yeah, hey, look, Kansas and Mizzou should definitely play. Yeah, no, see, that's what I'm talking about. A lot of these ones should happen. But I agree with you. Even if it was at the first of the year, though, who cares? Because right now, you figure every Texas-Oklahoma game is during the first half of the season. But it more than likely, when it gets to the SEC time, it's probably going to move to the back half of the season. And I guess it could stay where it is, but my guess is it may not. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, and it's usually when Oklahoma State bows out, Sean. Yeah, that's true. No, you're right. You're right about that. I would agree with that. He said usually by this time, yeah, playing for something. Yeah, listen, I get it. One of them is anyway, generally speaking. Neither one of them are going to get into the title game this year. But then that's fine. But I think you're still playing for something though. It's still, I don't think it would matter if you were playing for something. Look, it's not going to be a conference game anymore anyway. So what does it matter if you move it to the front of the year, to the front end of the schedule? And you know why I feel like they don't want to do it? Because they've been playing, the New Mexico School for the Blind, in their opening schedule and stuff like that. Of course it would. It's it around Oklahoma. It absolutely would have the same ratings. And for whatever reason, a lot of people around the country think that Oklahoma State's so good. They're not, but they get all this love lately. The week before that they got smoked by Kansas State like that, they spent the entire week talking about how great their culture there was in Stillwater. Yeah, it would get the same ratings. You know why? Because it's an Oklahoma thing. Everybody in Oklahoma wants to see this game every year. It's a big deal. They circle it on their calendars. You've got part of the state loves the Pokes, part of the state loves, or most of the state loves Oklahoma, but and there's the big brother, little brother thing, but this is a big deal. And you know what, as much as like I can't stand Oklahoma State, I don't care if they win ever. But there's a lot of Oklahoma fans that I've noticed that aside from this game, they root for Oklahoma State all the time. They just do. And the truth of it is a lot of people have relatives, friends, stuff like that have went to either or school. Well, yeah. Well, what isn't a better program than A&M right now, Sean? You know what I mean? And A&M's but here's the deal is they've got a lot of wins, but none of them are big wins. Every time they have an opportunity to win something big, like last year they get a win over OU, a gift win at that, and they should go. I mean, they had already smoked Baylor in the regular season. They go in there and Spencer throws 4 interceptions, and when they're going to go to the playoff if they win that game, 4 interceptions, and they talk about losing by 6 inches. They didn't lose by 6 inches. They lost by the 4 interceptions that Spencer threw. And 6 inches. But come on, man. It's not the same deal. So I don't want to hear all that stuff. I feel like that's a whatever, man. Oh, yes. I love it, Wong. Defining moments. I root for Texas over OSU, he says. Yeah, I don't root for anybody in that game. Fuck Texas. I never root for Texas either, but I don't root for OSU. I don't root for OSU. In fact, I was probably hoping that Texas was going to win that, just because I get sick and tired of the whole leading up to that week and everything else. Just the way that Okie State fans. But have you noticed lately, Wong, that they've been awfully quiet on there lately? On Twitter, you haven't heard a lot out of the Poke fans. In fact, I did see one where, and it was kind of made me kind of sick, where you had Oklahoma fans and Oklahoma State fans that were saying, maybe we should just call it a tie this year, and whatever, blah blah blah, because they're not good. And I'm like, oh no. They were being really nice, weird to each other. It was weird to me. I wasn't in on that at all. I read a couple of it and about made me. I was like, what the hell is this? This is not right. This is not right. There's never a time. No, I'm with you though. I get it. I have a hard time rooting for Texas ever. In fact, that will never happen. Horns down. Throw your flag if y'all want to. But 50 Shades of Orange. Yeah, whatever. Yeah, they all suck. Screw them all. Screw them both. I can't stand them. How fun was that to watch TCU win that game with only 17 points the other day? And I want to know, what does everybody think there? For all the trash that those guys have been talking about, how great they are and they're back, blah, blah, blah. They've got one less win. One less win. You know what I mean? Or one less loss than Oklahoma does, and they're acting like they're high and mighty. Come on, man. And now they're killing Quinn Ewers. That was their savior coming into this, and now they're killing him. And it's all his fault. It's all his fault. I want to know why it was that freaking Bijan Robinson wasn't getting the football. If I'm a Texas fan, I'm not putting this on Ewers. I'm putting this on, what is Sark doing? What is he doing? The dude, it's like he just forgets about. How do you forget about Bijan Robinson? He's the best back in the country, and I love Eric Gray. He's had a great season. I think he deserves everything he gets. He's an All-American type back. But, and I know there were some people that were kind of arguing back and forth about that the other day on Twitter, but I got to say, talent-wise, there's nobody better than Bijan in the country. And I can't believe that what it is. They had like 30 rushing yards or something like that in the game, but I don't think he had but like 15 touches. And that you kept talking about they were loading the box, but what I saw was disguising it as a loading up the box, and then you'd see him jump back into coverage as soon as the ball was snapped, because they knew that they were going to force it downfield, because for whatever reason, that's what Sark likes to do. And to me, it surprises me that, like, when he was at Alabama, they used to, what? Oh, Bijan. Yes. Grey Poupon. Yeah, same dude. Yeah, that's him. No, but he would find inventive ways to get his guys the ball in a running game. If they were struggling in the running game, you would see them throw the ball out of the back. And I've seen him run that play a bunch. He ran it against Oklahoma State. Bijan gets a 50-yard touchdown and then barely gets the ball anymore after that. They should have blown Okie Light out. They should have blown Okie Light out. Jacob Thomas. Hey, what's up, Jacob? Thanks for coming back in. What's up, man? How's everything going? Talk to us a little bit. We're talking Bedlam. We're talking Texas, Okie Light. Trashing both of them. This is what we do right now. What do you think about this week coming up, Jake? I'm glad you made it on the show, by the way. But I feel like, for all the trash that everybody's talking about, that maybe BV shouldn't be, the head coach next year and stuff like that, I'm surprised that they're not pushing Sark out the door for all these losses in road games and losses with big leads in the second half. And so many of them, and second half leads, been slinging them Amazon packages, man. Cool. Good deal, bro. Well, you're gonna be a busy man leading into the holiday seasons, then, aren't you? Listen, I feel like Sark, and you know how Texas is. They're a knee jerk reaction, but I've seen a lot of that from our own fan base, from Oklahoma fan base. So yeah, I would like to see the same. Yeah, definitely, Jake. Definitely. Um, I'm hoping that. I'm hoping that we get a better game, and I feel like we will. I don't know what the weather's supposed to be like this weekend, but you can't let those guys come in and do you like that in Norman. Um, I have a hard time believing that they will. So let's just hope that it kind of it goes better. I want to see a better performance too. What I'd like to see is these mistakes, and that's the other thing. We're talking about all this stuff with Venables, and people are wanting his head. Some are, some aren't, and there's a lot of the comparisons that are being made with him and other coaches are stupid. A lot of them are with coaches that this isn't their first time being a head coach, and I'm not even saying that he doesn't have a few things that he needs to answer for, that things need to be better from him. I don't mind holding his feet to the fire about some stuff and saying that it is what it is, that he hasn't been great in certain instances. What I will say is that at what point, I mean, at what point do you stop making mistakes if you're a player? Stupid mistakes like offside penalties on 4th and 1, or even, not that Braden Willis has been a big mistake, a big problem guy as far as the season's gone. In fact, I think he's been probably their biggest leader. But, being over the line of scrimmage, that takes 7 points off the score. There's a lot of stuff that, and out of the 5 losses, 3 of them very easily could have been wins. And as I said, I felt like last year, Lincoln's, if it wasn't for Caleb Williams, you probably had 4 or 5 losses last year. In fact, they 6 one-score games, and they had a 12-point win over Kansas that they were losing in the 4th quarter. And if it wasn't for Caleb Williams putting his cape on putting his cape on against Texas, they'd lose both of those games. Plus they had 5 other one-score games. Tulane almost won 40-35. They barely got them. So, this could have happened a year ago. It could have. And not only that, then you had this big roster turnover. But, yeah, exactly. And he hasn't been great. There's been some things that he's missed on. I agree with that. And I don't even have a problem with that. I just think that I just feel like you have to kind of, look at it as one of those deals where you have to expect. Is that your prediction? 38-13 OU. Okay. All right, well, I'm going to write it down here. All right, I'm going to write it down. At one point, you're going to have to come in on the show, too. 38-13 for Wong Lam. Cool. All right. Yeah, Sooner Magic. Yeah. It was a facade. It was a facade, and I've been saying that a lot. You know what I mean? And you were busting my chops a lot on that video about the whole thing with Stoops there, Sean. But I mean, I didn't lie about anything. Not a single thing in that. All the stuff that was going on, you could see it coming. The big game Bob, that was a myth for a long time. But once Texas got, when they turned trash, when Mac left, when they fired Mac and brought in those other guys, they became, basically irrelevant. And they've been irrelevant, but what, 12 years now? And then, like I said, Oklahoma State is a walking, complete, they screw it up all the time. They are an underachievement waiting to happen. How in the world Mike Gundy has this perpetual 5-year deal that renews every year when he's won 1 conference championship, didn't have to win a conference championship game. He's won 1 conference championship this is his 18th season. He's still going to have 1 conference championship at the end of it too, because they're not getting in. I think they're pretty much eliminated, They want way too much of it. Yeah, they do. And it's, you have to expect, look, when you change coaches, and here's the thing, that's why it surprised me that so many people Yes, you do. Shush, whatever. You're undefeated, bro. Come on, man. You're undefeated. Um, I look. It's what freaked me out so much is that everybody's always busting Texas's chops for firing coaches left and right. And what did Herman made it into his fourth year? I guess it was, or I thought it was after 3 years or whatever. But they didn't give him enough time. I didn't feel like, but and then I think that I don't know, man. I feel like this is, and I don't think that it's the best time to fire Sark either. But I feel like out of all those guys, he's probably the worst coach out of them. The dude is a 500 coach. You are what your record says you are. He's been a head coach at Washington, at USC, and now at Texas. 3 premier programs. He's a 500 coach. He's been right around 500 every place he's been. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. They had Les Miles before that. I mean, it's not like you can't. Are they pissed? No, they love him. They love him, bro. I don't know. Who could? There's a bunch of people that I don't know that there's a lot of people that would want the job. But that being said, then again, why not? It's a better program than some. And particularly now that you don't have to deal with Oklahoma anymore. I don't know, man. It just weirded me. And the whole thing with Chuba Hubbard, I was surprised that he survived that one. I really was. I thought that whole deal, they more or less they were calling Chuba was calling him a racist. And it wasn't a good look. And when you don't win very often, and then you end up with that deal, you just don't win anything. I mean, he's beaten Oklahoma 3 times in this 18 years. I mean, he's got his chance for his 4th one, but I'll believe it when I see it. He don't beat him. You know what I mean? 3 times you beat your rival. 1 time you've been a conference championship in 18 years. And man, they could find somebody else, bro. And the thing is they've had some amazing football players. Think about Thurman Thomas, Barry Sanders. They've had unbelievable running backs that came through there. He built them to beat. I don't know, man. I may not be the one to ask. on that. I don't feel like he built them to win important games. I think that they can win regular season games. I know that they can beat non-conference. Their non-conference schedule is trash, so they win a lot of games out of that one. But and they may beat Texas. They've beaten Texas a lot more in the last 5 or 6 years than I ever remembered them doing before. But I'll give them that. But again, Texas has been irrelevant. So to me, it's kind of one of those deals where every time, again, last year there was no reason whatsoever. They shouldn't have lost the game to Iowa State. They do. They choke it away. Right? Yeah. Oh, you're talking Tulsa? Bro, come on. Are you really sitting over here being a freaking Okie State apologist, Sean? Don't do it. Don't do it, bro. Whatever. Yeah, you can win bowl games if you play trash opponents. They played Central Michigan, Arizona State, and who was the other? Who was their third? Yeah. Yeah. One American News and Chewbacca Hubbard. Jake, are you talking about Tulsa? You're talking bad about Tulsa, though? They got good players. However, the other state university is garbage. Yeah, they're kind of trashy, man. But I don't know. Yeah. I feel like Oklahoma State is trash too. I just do. They play trash non-conference opponents. And look, as I said, last year was their year to have. They had their chance. They got their gift win. They could have him. They can have him. Yeah, right. If I'm Oklahoma State's coach, I'm like, take him now. Take him now. Okay, so you were just talking OSU. Attaboy, Jake. Attaboy, Jake. I wasn't trying to really trash on Tulsa. So I like that. I like it. No, look, I tell you what, if I'm an Okie Light fan, I want him gone. I want him gone. I would be like, yeah, let him go. Let him go. I don't see him ever doing that. I mean, he played for Okie Light. This is his, and he's comfortable. He's got a 5-year perpetual deal. He's getting paid millions, and it renews every year for 5 more years. Like, what does he got to do to get fired? I wonder. I can't even imagine. You don't have to win, apparently. Have to win anything of significance anyway. You think so? I don't think so, man. Because maybe this is where the disconnect is really. Because right now, I think that they should want to have what Oklahoma State has. I agree with you there. Because they're garbage. They're a dumpster fire. But this is not a place that they're okay with not winning national championships. It's like just like Oklahoma. I mean, it's one thing to win all these Big 12 championships, and that's all fine and well and good. But I can tell you that I saw through it. I saw that it was a facade when they were getting there and getting their ass kicked in the CFP. Aside from the Rose Bowl year that they should have won, Lincoln took his foot off the gas there. That they screwed that one up. I was in the Rose Bowl. I hated that game. Ooh, it pissed me off. But because they should have won by 40. But what I'm saying is that, and I feel like Nebraska's the same way, is that they now, and is it a little asking for a bit much right now? Yeah, it is. But Nebraska's, because they're not in any position to win a conference championship or even the crappy side of the conference in the Big Ten that they're in. They're not close to that. They wouldn't stay. No, they wouldn't be happy with an 8-4 record for long. They're not. And that's the whole thing is like, you look at Texas A&M. You can get away with 8-4 as long as you don't dip below that. And look at that fan base wants Jimbo gone. And I mean, here, leave it to Aggie though to re-up him and still owe him $85 million. Re-up him on a rumor that LSU might want him. I don't know, man. This seems weird to me. I don't know. But hey, look, this is a big week. It's something I was going to talk about, and I'm kind of waiting on my guy. I don't know. I guess he's coming in. But yeah, I think that they are stuck with him. I think they have to be, because they owe him $86 million at the end of this. And really, if you're Jimbo, what motivation do you have to what motivation do you have to change your offense or give up control of your offense or any of that? They still owe you. He can tell him to kiss his ass that he's not fire me. Because I'm going to get paid. What does he care? And I've heard that he wants out and all that stuff. But yeah. The Bourbon Bowl? Yeah, they would. Yeah. They wish that they had Bobby Boucher. Exactly. But I mean, if I'm Jimbo, I mean, I've heard that he wants out of there, but of course he does. He get a chance to, because he could take. I mean, I've heard of this job possibly coming up that he might get. That he wants the West Virginia job. That's where he wants to end his career, which seems a little weird to me. But I guess it would be easy for him to go play in that conference. He's going to recruit better than they have, and I mean they'll be better than they've been with Neil Brown. But I don't know, man. It's I don't see any way that how do you pay him that much? Look at what they trashed Auburn in the SEC for Owen Gus Malzahn, $20-something million left on his deal when they fired him a couple of years ago. Trashed him, right? Trashed Auburn for it. And here they are firing Harsin again. They had better come up with a good hire here. They better. I don't know if it's Cadillac Williams. I'm guessing that it probably isn't. I think it would be cool if it was, but I also feel like Deion Sanders shit. Man, I'm backing up the Brinks truck if I'm. Why don't I like Brian Kelly? I I don't. I think he's a jerk, but I don't. And nobody likes Brian Kelly. Come on, who do you like Brian Kelly, Sean? I am not one of the haters though that thinks that he sucks. I think that they're going to win a national championship at LSU while he's there. I don't think there's any two ways around it. At least one. The guy was going to the playoff at Notre Dame. He was going to the playoff at Notre Dame, and they don't get the players that you get in the SEC depth wise. You might get top 10, top 12, top 15, but in the SEC, the depth of a team like it is particularly at a LSU, places like that. It's on another level. It's on another level, and so for him, and I know they hated him down there at LSU to start with, but they gotta be loving him now. He's in the driver's seat to make the SEC championship game. He beat Nick Saban in his first season. And what a ballsy play. What a ballsy play to go ahead and go for 2 right there. I love it. I feel like you have to go for a win at some point anyway when you get to overtime. I love that. I've always been a fan of people who will go for 2 right there and let's go ahead and get it over with. You got 2 yards to get in. Let's go. Why not? Why not? Particularly I loved it. I thought it was a fabulous play. Myself. But listen, I would say that Brian Kelly is going to win a championship there. He's going to do better than Lincoln Riley's going to do, man. I'll tell you that. I don't see Lincoln. It's no different there than it was at OU for the last 5 years. It's not. They're not getting. They're going to watch. Watch what happens. They might beat UCLA. I feel like they should beat UCLA. They might, because I don't think UCLA is that good. They're going to get the brakes beat off of them in the championship game against Oregon, though. And I can't believe Oregon lost to Washington. But watch it, or they'll play Utah. If Utah can get that win over Oregon, and I believe that's this weekend. I need to look at that. But if Utah could get that win over Oregon, I feel like that they would win again, because I think Kyle Whittingham's one of the best. I think Kyle Whittingham's one of the best coaches in the country. I think he's completely underrated, and I think. But again, like I said, I feel like if we're talking Brian Kelly and Lincoln, to me, it's I think that Brian Kelly, he's proven that he's a great coach. He did it at Cincinnati. He took a Notre Dame team that was not winning. They were firing coaches left and right, and he was winning there with inferior talent, going to the playoff. Matt Rule is DC. I don't know. Maybe I guess. I don't know. Is he a defensive coach really? I thought he was more of an offensive guy. Maybe I'm wrong. But I felt like he was more of an. But I guess so. He's asking, would I take SC seriously if they hired Matt Rule as defensive coordinator? What do you think about that, Jake? I don't know. I mean, yeah, I think it's a step in the right direction, but I think that he's going to get a head coaching job though too. I don't see him being a coordinator anywhere, but I think, I think that you would have to. Yeah, Wong, I agree. I mean, yeah, if he's DC, maybe so. He's a good coach, man. That's the thing. I thought that he didn't do a great job at Carolina, but a lot of those guys, they do have deep pockets. Yeah, they gave Lincoln $100 million and then gave him $100 or like a $10 million, $15 million house on the beach too. Yeah, he's got money. They're fine down there. It's weird though. Nobody goes and watches them. But yeah, I feel like I guess so. But I feel like isn't he the front runner for the? Isn't Rule the front runner for the Nebraska job at this point, or one of them anyway? Yes, he is. Yes, he is. Little bastard. It's such a joke, though. I just the only thing, and look, man, the one thing I'll say about Lincoln is that he's great at what he does, and I'm never been that guy that is going to sit here and say that he sucks at what he does. And yeah, so the question that you originally asked, Sean, would I take SC seriously if they had Matt Rule as the defensive coordinator? Absolutely. Absolutely. Because of the fact that they would now have an offensive genius in Lincoln and a defensive guy or a great coach anyway. I mean, if you put a guy like Patterson there, or like, listen, if Venables was the defensive coordinator during that time, when Lincoln was there, they win. Anybody aside from Mike Stoops, and then later on, I don't know. To me, I think that the philosophy that they have with when numbnuts at USC on defense, I think it's a stupid philosophy. I think it's a philosophy for your smaller schools that aren't going to get the big boys. They're never going to get those guys. They're your ECUs, your Texas Techs, your these guys that are going to get. You're never going to build a defensive line like you will in the SEC or at Clemson or at Oklahoma or at USC. At USC, you can get the big boys there, and you could do it at Oklahoma too. And here we are recruiting a bunch of nobodies or small guys, 3-star guys, stuff like that, when you don't have to. So Speed D to me, Grinch's defense to me is just not. It may be fine for places like Iowa State or Texas Tech or whatever. It may be fine for them, but to me, it's not the right defense for a premier program. Yeah. Yeah. I think he's a pretty good coach. I mean, why wouldn't he? I don't know, man. I don't know. I guess they definitely lost a lot of what they had last year. And that's the other reason that I don't feel like they're going to win Bedlam this year, is because they just don't have that defense. And that was the only reason they really won it last year. And plus, I think Lincoln handed it to him because he knew that he was going to lose recruiting time, or maybe not even get the job if they win that game and and get a chance to go to the playoff, because they would have. I mean, if they play Baylor, maybe. Sure. Anybody should replace Gundy. Yeah, that's just my feelings on it. I don't know though, man. I hope he stays forever. At this point, I guess it doesn't really matter anymore. If we were going to play them from here on out, I would say I hope he stays forever. But if I'm an Oklahoma State fan, I have had enough by now. Because just like I said, I mean, they didn't need to lose that Iowa State game. They did anyway, because the Iowa State was not good last year. They lost it anyway. And so even then, they might have still had an opportunity to get to the playoff after beating Oklahoma, had they just finished the job in the Big 12 championship game. But again, this is what they do. This is just what they do. Yeah, you guys are laughing about replacing Gundy. Yeah, it's funny, man. I love it. But I don't know, folks. I guess I'm not going to have my guest on after all. And yeah, I will definitely be on live again Thursday night. We'll be going into some of that as well. Some of this as well. I want to kind of go back through. Yeah. Oh yeah. You want to, so, yes, they are. They're full of shit is what they are. So after the TCU game, I don't know if you guys watched that one, but well, I think the difference was rushing. They rushed the ball better than we did. They averaged like 5.5 yards a carry, and we were like 3.7. And it was like, dude, you had a 24/7 freaking lead. It was rushing. Get out of here, dude. And then he turned it, and then he doubles down on it. Early, I think it was fair to. It was. I think I was right in saying it was the rush game. The rush game. Yeah. What? Okay. His. They're full of shit. You know what? And the one time that I actually had any kind of love for him, for what he did. Hey, Juan, I will see you next time. I'll see you on Thursday. We'll be back in here then, and so yeah, we'll see you then. But yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, or your defense. Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. He just kept saying it was rushing. We lost because of rushing, and I'm thinking, bro, did you what? I mean, and then that interception didn't exactly help you. Down towards the end of the game, or the fact that Spencer had 5 incompletions in the overtime. I mean, when you go up 24-7, you have a 17-point lead. You're supposed to close that game out. Who are you, Texas? And I know that TCU made a habit of coming back. They won coming back from 18 down the next week. But I mean, I think that TCU is a matter of, first off, they had the core of their offense come back and mostly their defense as well. But and I think that what they needed was an offense, and they got Lincoln's little brother and Sonny. Both of them are offensive guru types. I think that, but those wins right there, the wins that they came back against K-State and then coming back against Oklahoma State, I think it kind of changed that. I mean, you can get on a roll right there, and then now you're like, oh wow, we can beat these guys. And they had already beaten Oklahoma. Of course they knocked Dillon out of the game. But honestly, the game was already starting to get out of hand when he went out. It wasn't looking good. They weren't stopping him for sure. It just wasn't a good. I mean, but when you get 3 games in a row like that, where you beat, coming into the season, what would you hope that you go 1-2 in that 3-game stretch? If you're a TCU fan, probably they go 3-0. It's a big deal for them. And now, could you imagine them really losing this game this week? I mean, although I know that Baylor and them, that's always their biggest rival right now within the conference. I could see Baylor winning. But I feel like this might be TCU's chance. Real quick, I do want to go into let me just find what there shouldn't be big changes to it, but let's see. CFP. I want to get your thoughts on the CFP real quick. Let's see what the rankings were. Yeah, I'd like to see him kind of win out, I agree with you, Jake. I kind of would like to see him win out too. I feel like they deserve to get to. I mean, they deserve their shot. And I tell you, what is what do we got here? Okay, so yeah, and then West Virginia did get rid of Shane Lyons. I think that's kind of weird. The AD Shane Lyons is out at West Virginia. Yeah. Yeah, but they haven't choked this year yet, man. And I felt like if they were going to lose, of course it's Texas, man. They choke it up every freaking time. But I felt like if they were going to lose, it was going to be last week at Texas. And they should. I mean, shoot, come on, man. If you're freaking UT and you can hold that offense to 17 points, and nobody's been close to that all year. You hold that offense to 17 points, and you can't muster a win out of that, Mr. Offense Guru, and you've got Bijan Robinson. What's going on? Yeah, well, it's not the same as like rooting for A&M or Texas, though. I mean, I'm rooting for the conference at this point. I do not want to see Lincoln in the freaking playoff, but I feel like they're going to be, because here's what happens. If TCU loses, and that it doesn't matter if they win if they lose one of these regular season games or if they don't, they're out. They're not going to have a shot to get back in. You've got Tennessee's going to roll back into it. And then of course you still have Michigan, Ohio State. One of them's got to lose. But to me, if USC freaking wins out, they're going to be in the playoff. They're going to be in the playoff if TCU loses. Now, if TCU doesn't, then they won't be, thankfully. And that's why I'm rooting for TCU. I do not want to see freaking Lincoln in that damn thing. I don't. It's just my, I don't want to see it. But then again, if he goes, he's going to get his ass handed to him again. Although Caleb Williams is definitely an equalizer, man. He's a stud, man. He's a stud. I feel like if they play Oregon, they probably lose that. I feel like it's going to be Utah or Oregon, more or less, unless they screw it up and lose to UCLA and then they win out. Then it would be UCLA in and them out. But then, then we get our wish. But I don't think UCLA is that good, man. I just don't. I think that they looked better coming in. The Washington win was big for them. But I don't know. Yeah, Georgia would beat the brakes off of USC. Yes, they would. I'm going to have to give you that. Yeah. Look, if they get in, they're going to get their ass kicked by whoever it is. Tennessee, they'd work them. Ohio State would work them. The one chance that they would have would be, let's think. Michigan or Ohio State is both going to kick their ass. They would kick their ass. Tennessee or Georgia is going to beat their ass. I don't see it. You know what I mean? Yeah. I hope TCU gets in, folks. I'm going to root for the conference here and hope that TCU gets in and that Lincoln doesn't. So that's where I'm at on it. All right. So the rankings, same as a week ago, I believe. Let's see. Yeah. So Tennessee's holding at 5. USC replaces Oregon as the lone playoff contender. Let's see. I gotta hit this stupid thing. Yeah, and it's they're talking about the margin for error for TCU, and I just don't feel like that they really have one. Because everybody else in the league has at least 3 losses. So it's not, we're not looking at, it's kind of hurting their overall resume if you start thinking about it. It starts hurting their overall resume. So LSU, they're not going to get in over a 1-loss USC team though either. They're not. But they're the only 2-loss team with a chance, I would imagine. I don't think that Alabama gets in. Clemson, I think they're screwed. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, the top 4 stays the same. The top 5 stays the same. SD moves up. I feel like it's a thing where you're going to see that. I just see that this is what's going to happen. It's going to be because one of those 2 teams. There's not going to be 2 Big Ten teams in. If Tennessee wins out, they're going to stay in. And then it would, after Tennessee though, then it goes to SC, unless if TCU lost, then it goes to SC. There's no 2 ways around it. If SC was to win out, do I feel like they are gonna? Probably not, but they could. And I just don't think that the Pac-12 is as good as everybody else does. We saw what happened to Oregon against Georgia. We saw that. And I know they looked great for the rest of the year. Who else did they play? BYU at home. They whooped them. UCLA almost lost to, was it South Alabama or Georgia State or something? I mean, it was one of those HBCU schools, and they almost lost. They won by 1, in the non-conference. And then, of course, they beat Washington. But what else have they done? They haven't had to play. They beat Utah at home in the Rose Bowl. But I don't feel like that. I mean, then we saw Utah. They were the only other team that played a decent non-conference opponent. SC played Rice and had a rough time with them for the better part of the game. Obviously Utah losing to Florida doesn't look great on them. I mean, they still only have one conference loss too. So now if they can get that win over Oregon, then I think that they beat SC, but they're not going to get into the playoff either. I think that their best chance at getting into the playoff for the Pac-12 is going to be SC. But I just don't know that I believe that they can beat either team that they're going to end up having to play in the conference championship game if they get by UCLA. I just don't see it. So yeah, TCU at Baylor this weekend. It's a big matchup. SC UCLA this weekend. That's a big matchup as well. That Oregon Utah game is also this weekend. So Oregon only dropped a spot, which is kind of weird. But yeah, they are right. That can't be right. I don't think that they've updated that yet for some reason. No, because it's Monday, you knucklehead. Oh, it's Tuesday. Why isn't this updated? Yeah. Okay, so yeah. Anyway, I feel like LSU would be next in line, but you're going to have a lot of things happen for LSU to get in. They would have to win the conference championship. I don't see that happening. Nobody's going to beat Georgia. I just don't see it. Anyway, fellas, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. It's been an hour and 20 minutes now. I will be back on Thursday night. Bryce should be on with me that night as well. Hey, listen, Jake, come back and see me on Thursday night too. Sean, you come back as well. I'd like to let's hear favorite Bedlam moments. Go back, look through some of your favorite Bedlam moments. I'll talk to you about some of mine, and we'll kind of I'm going to prognosticate the score Thursday night. I'm not going to do it today, but yeah, let me know. And Sean, I want to hear from you too. I know. Hey, look, you watch as much as you said Arkansas, but something tells me you're an OSU fan. I'm just going to bust your chops and say you are. I think it is. So yeah. All right, guys. Yeah. Think about something. Think about your favorite Bedlam moments, and we'll talk to you guys good. Hey, Chris, thanks for coming again, man. I appreciate you. We'll see you on Thursday as well. Talk to you guys soon.
And make sure it sound right, boys.